I'm Christina.
I'm Maya from Bookworm Dreams, and this is our video for our best books of 2018. So, we have two books in common that are on our both favorites list. And first book is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. So this is book 2 in the Strange Dreamer duology, and it follows the first book, Strange Dreamer, and we find out what happens to Laszlo Strange and the other characters in the book. It is so good.
It's very emotional.
It's emotional.
For me, at
it's
least.
beautifully written.
Yeah.
The world is expanded. You learn so much. There are Easter eggs from her previous books. And,
yes.
And it's so good. I remember I got this for my birthday.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
And my sister got this for me, and I was so excited when I got it, and I read it in like a day and a half. It was so good. Who hasn't read this should read it.
Yeah, it's really gorgeous. I think it was the first book I know they're like just a small portion of these tabs, but this is the first book I ever tabbed because it was so freaking gorgeous and good. And I know a lot of people say it's very slow in the beginning and that they don't like that, but I think that was, for me, it was one of the best things because you got to see the characters develop. You got to see how they reacted to a really big tragedy that happened to them. It wasn't like, okay, there was a tragedy, so let's just move on to a lot of fighting and stuff.
Yes.
It was really an exploration of their relationships and their feelings, and I really liked that.
Yeah, we saw how they process things.
Yes.
Which you don't usually see. Usually it's like, okay, stuff needs to happen, and I like when stuff happens, so this was good.
But this was really good.
This is really good. All right.
So the second book that we both loved was Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames.
Yes.
So this is, what is it? It's a high fantasy story
Yes.
about a band of
Mercenaries.
which stopped doing like what they were doing. They were mercenaries when they were young, and now they're a bit older. They have families. They're like settled into their lives, and they're going for their last adventure because the daughter of one of them is stuck in a city that's under siege, so they're trying to rescue her. And it's full of humor, full of action. So much crazy stuff happens. The main character, Clay, I think is my favorite fictional character of all times. I think I want him to be my like fictional husband or something because he is so honest and so caring and loyal, and I basically love his character.
Yes, I love this book because all the like normal fantasy tropes are just flipped on their heads, and it's so tongue-in-cheek and it's funny, and it's an awesome book. And the sequel was out, and I still haven't read it, and I have.
And she promised me like notes and everything, so I could write her my note. Read it.
I will. I'll try.
Okay.
It's an awesome book, and it's going to be a continuing series. So. Start it now, because unlike some authors, this one writes. So I think the second book came out like only a year after the first one.
Yeah.
So if you start now, you won't have to wait long for the third one.
Oh.
I think there is a third one.
Oh,
We'll see. But if there's a third one, it will definitely be awesome as well. Okay. So I'll start with mine now.
Yeah, you can.
So another book that's a favorite is Ilona Andrews, Burn for Me. So the whole series, actually, this is 3 books, though a 4th one came out recently, but it's like a continuation, not the whatever. So Hidden Legacies trilogy by Ilona Andrews, Burn for Me is book number 1, and we follow in this book. See the
I'm
cheesy.
guessing she really likes the cover, probably.
The cheesy cover. No, this is an urban fantasy, and all urban fantasies have cheesy covers.
Really?
Yes, and this is also / paranormal romance as well. So there's always a cheesy cover here. So we follow the Baylor family in Houston, if I'm not mistaken. And this is set in a world where magic is a part of life, and you have sort of magical families. And the more magic power your family has, more powerful you are. And our main character has detective agency, of course, as everybody does in these books. And she's given a case to track down one of the sons of one of the most powerful families in the town she lives in, and he's also kind of crazy and stuff, and he's threatening to destroy everything. So in her search for him, she meets a tall, dark, handsome dude. I guess this one. And stuff happens. But it's so good that I've read this series twice this year. I read it first in like the first half of the year.
That's why you don't read books. You reread books.
I reread books. And then I reread it while I was on summer vacation. Next to like when I read all the other books, I read this because it's so awesome. And it's a fast read. I mean, it doesn't look like a short book, but it's a fast read, big letters and stuff.
It's not.
So, pretty awesome book. And now you can read it.
You're gonna hear about this in our next video.
Yes, it's awesome. Awesome book. All right, what about you?
Okay, so first off, I have The Fireman by Joe Hill. I read this in August. This is a gigantic book, let me tell you. I read it in 2 days. Granted, I was on my vacation, but it was so engaging. It's a story, well, you would think about The Fireman, but it's actually a story about this post-apocalyptic world where you have almost like a cult.
Yes.
And most of the book you actually dive into their I don't know
beliefs,
their beliefs, how they kind of drag you in, don't let you have your own opinion. It's really scary how accurate it is to some of the things that are, well, for me, happening here in Croatia in terms of like this culty religious strand that's happening. So yeah, I really liked it. There was actually one point in the book where it just such a bad thing happened and just put it down, and I refused to read it for a couple of hours because I just couldn't deal. I had to talk to people to just get the frustration out of my system, but it was an absolutely epic and interesting read. So I highly recommend this. It's literally worth the 700 pages that it has. Every single page of it is worth it. So that's one of my favorite books.
All right. One of my favorite books is Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. So this is one of my favorites because I liked the Grisha trilogy. It was fine, but I was so annoyed because the main character, Alina, was more concerned with her love life than saving the world from the Darkling.
Did you hear they're making a TV show out of it?
They are?
Yeah, Netflix. If you don't know, a combination of the Shadow and Bone trilogy and Six of Crows.
I know Six of Crows was happening, but they're combining it with the Grisha trilogy.
I saw it on Leigh Bardugo's Instagram today. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll watch it, of course, because we love Six of Crows and stuff.
Like Language of Thorns.
Yes. This is one of my favorites because I read this after I read the Grisha trilogy, and this was so much better. This is a book that is full of the Grisha lore and their fairy tales and stuff, and it was so much more interesting than the actual trilogy, and I loved it. I got this in a Fairy Loot box, I think.
I think it was.
And with it we got a bunch of postcards, and when you read the book, which is awesome,
it's beautiful.
As the story progresses, you see illustrations happening, and the illustrations get bigger and bigger and bigger as the story progresses, and that was very interesting. And the stories themselves are very, very cool, and I just love this book. So yeah, that's one of my favorites for this year.
Okay, another one of my favorites is probably something you've heard a lot about, but I just had to. So it's, well, actually the entire series, the Reagan Cycle, but I'm showing here my favorite book of the entire series, and that is the Dream Thieves. This is the second book, and it specifically focuses, as you can see on the cover, on Ronan, who is...
I haven't read it,
but he is one of the five main characters. He is my absolute favorite one. I love him, and basically this is a story about this bunch of teenagers that are looking for a long dead king. Well, I think he's Welsh on the ley lines, and there's a lot of magical realism and fantasy in it. But I just binge read the series. Literally, I read it within a week, all of it. And I plan on rereading it because it was really just fascinating and quick read, absolutely fantastic. So there it is.
Awesome. Another favorite of mine is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. I didn't have a physical book for that because I listened to it on audio, which you should do because he reads it. Trevor Noah
I
reads
have it on my TBR. So.
And it's such an interesting portrayal of his little memoir, I guess, or biography. So he wrote the story about his life when he was younger, when he lived in South Africa. And it's just it's sad, it's funny. There's a whole Go Hitler thing that I was listening to it in the car and I was laughing so hard, it was ridiculous. This book was it was so interesting. It was just, you learn a lot about Trevor Noah.
Who is he? Is he a comedian?
Yes, he's a comedian. He took over for Jon Stewart on The Daily Show.
Oh.
I didn't know who he was until he first started as correspondent on The Daily Show. That's when they do those segments. And he did 3 segments before they announced that he was going to be the replacement for Jon Stewart. So everybody was like, what? Because nobody knew. He's very popular in Africa because he had his own late night show there. And he has several comedy specials out. So when they announced that, I watched his comedy specials. He's funny. He's good. And
should you watch this, like, at least one special before going into the book, or can you just read it because it's good enough?
I think you can read it without watching his special. And then later, if you find the book interesting, maybe. I mean, if you follow The Daily Show, you will see how he is and sort of his sense of humor. But you can do both. It was very interesting. I was like, but I read most of the Daily Show books that they put out during the years. John was there, so I was like, okay, let's read this, and it's so good. So you should definitely check it out. One of my favorites.
Cool. Okay, next one is my favorite, and now we have a crime mystery novel, and that is Blacklands by Belinda Bauer. So, this is a story about a 12-year-old boy who is trying to solve the mystery of his uncle's murder, and in doing so, he corresponds with the person that has been locked up for his murder. So
wait, the murder of the uncle?
Or the murder of the uncle.
Okay.
Yes. So he's writing letters to this murderer, and you get to see basically both sides, the murderers and the little child, and you follow him on this journey of discovery about how this murder affected his entire family, him, his mom, his grandma, I think. He literally, I don't know if you can see here, so it's a picture of him carrying a shovel. He literally walks around this Blacklands, it's like a region, and he is trying to dig up the grave of his uncle because they actually never found the body. That's the whole idea of the book. It's written incredibly. It makes you feel every emotion of every character in there. I read it within a day, literally. It was so good. It has stuck with me throughout the year. I read it at the beginning of the year. I immediately checked other books by Belinda Bauer. I bought one. I plan on reading more because I just love how beautiful the style is and how provoking it can be for you. So this is one of my favorite reads.
Another one of my favorites read is Nevermore, The Trial of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend, yes. I loved this book. It was very hyped on BookTube, but I was like, okay. But when I read it, it does give you like the feels when you read the Harry Potter books for the first time. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's a middle grade book, and we follow Morgan Crow, who is an unlucky child, and she gets blamed for everything wrong that happens in her little town. and so because she was born on this day or whatever, she's supposed to die on her 12th birthday.
I
And
think it's 11th,
11th?
isn't it 11th birthday?
Yeah, 11th birthday, sorry.
Okay.
11th birthday. And the day before her birthday, she gets taken away to this magical world where she starts, I guess, competing in a way to get into this school where she will learn to do stuff.
Yes.
It is so funny, and it's very entertaining, and,
Yeah.
and it's very, very cool. I really liked it. And I read it in a day and a half, I
Yeah.
think. I have tabs as well. So yeah, this is one of my favorites. I started reading the second one. It was like when I saw it at a fair, I was like, okay, we have to buy that.
I did the same. I also love this book.
Yeah, it's an awesome book. So I started reading the second one, but then I got distracted, had to read other stuff or something
Like
else.
the 6 Ilona Andrews or what?
No, it's the Rita Jones. Yeah, it's like when I'm in a slump, I read urban fantasy because
Okay,
I know
yeah.
it's fast and I know it will get me interesting. And then,
Okay.
and oh my
It's-
god! All right, anyway,
Okay.
awesome book. You should read it. It's very good. I was thinking about giving it to one of my pupils to read,
Oh.
but they don't like reading. So what can you do? But it's an awesome book, and you should
Yeah.
definitely read it.
Okay, and my last favorite book, I mean, I have a lot of favorites, but this is the 5 that I've chosen for this video. And the last one is a comic series, and that is Lock and Key by Joe Hill. So, the backstory is I didn't read comics until this year.
Yeah.
Like
too.
at all. I potentially read one comic, and this is the 3rd or 4th comic that I picked up this year, and I fell in love. I literally stopped reading everything that I was reading at that point and just read the entire series. I think it has 6 volumes. I also read the companion volumes, like stories from the same world
Okay.
about the same family. So basically, this is a story about a house that possesses like lots of keys which are magical, and they, you know, do magical stuff. Maybe turn you into a bird, or maybe
Turn you dead, if I remember.
turn you dead and stuff like that. And it's about this family who is fighting, obviously very evil character who is trying to get this keys so he can come back to life basically and wreak havoc around the world.
Yeah.
And it's very dark, it's
Scary.
but very interesting. You have like 5 or 6 characters, but all of them are equally developed and they have like an equal part in the story, so you get to know every one of them. And I really like that. And the style, I mean, I love how it's a bit, you know, like dark, but, you know, like almost childish.
Cartoony.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, this is my...
Also Joe Hill. So.
Also, yes, apparently, if you didn't notice, that's the 2nd book in my favorites books of his. So, obviously, I really like him. But there you go.
Yeah.
That's it. Do you have... That's it?
And no, I have one.
Okay.
So my last favorite book is actually a series. It's the Stormlight Archive. I had the books, and then my brother took them away. So the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson has 3 books: Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, and Oathbringer. And each one is bigger than the last one. So
Like,
the
is
last one,
Bringer like this. It
Yeah,
has
that's the
like 1,000 and something
200
pages.
pages.
Oh.
And I was surprised to, when I was making the list, that I've read all of them this year because they're huge. The books are about this. It's a complicated plot that it will take me millions of years to explain. So the books follow 3 main characters, and the 3 main characters basically are preparing for a big fight that is threatening their continent, and they're doing this through an old religion and sort of old legend that was forgotten, and so when they are talking about, this thing is happening and this thing is coming back, and we need to form the Knights of Radiance that will protect us from this evil thing. They're not really taken seriously, and there's lots of political intrigue. It's high fantasy, so it's very similar to Game of Thrones. So it's lots of political intrigues. I remember reading the first book. One of our main characters is like trying to form a coalition or an alliance to fight some. They have like this enemy that they're fighting, and he's starting to charge towards the enemy, and all of his allies are sort of leaving him to die. I remember reading it, I was like, what the fuck? But I read most of them, I listened to most of them on audiobook, their graphic audio versions. If you don't know, Graphic Audio is a company that does audiobooks, and their tagline is like a movie inside your head, because they add special effects. Every character like has their own actor, so it's very cool to listen to, and I listen and I follow in the book sometimes, and those books are just amazing. And if you like high fantasy and complicated worlds with stuff happening, it's supposed to be like a 10-book series, and every book 10 books, and every book has over 1,000 pages.
Wow.
If
That's
you like that kind of thing, it's awesome, and you should definitely read that, because it is one of my favorite books this year. I remember I gave the first one, I gave 4 stars because it was most world building. The whole thing, leaving them, happened in the last 200 pages. And the second and third one got, I think, 5 stars, because they're just the world keeps expanding, and you learn more about the characters' pasts, and stuff happens, and it's so cool. So definitely read that. So that is it.
That's it. Hi, Editing Christina here. So, I forgot to mention The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang as one of my favorite books of 2018. This is a story about, I think, a 30-year-old girl that has Asperger's, and she has a real big problem dealing with her sexual life, so she hires an escort to help her deal with that. And it is a beautiful, beautiful and quite steamy story about the two of them, because there's the dual point of view, so you both have hers and his point of view. And I absolutely loved it, not because of the steamy scenes, although they were really awesome, but also because of the fact that you got to see how a person with Asperger's thinks, how he or she gets into these awkward situations just because they don't have maybe the same logic as we do. So I really enjoyed that, and I'm really interested in reading more books like that. And I'm really looking forward to the next book by Helen Huang. And that is it. Back to the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked
this video. You can like it, comment, share if you want. If you read any of these books, definitely let us know, so we can gush together. It was awesome.
Yes.
How awesome the books are and stuff. Yeah.
And that's it. We will see you in our next video.
Okay.
Bye.